Happy Friday, folks. Welcome to the end of the week. We made it. We've got some weather to talk about for this upcoming weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandajis. Thanks so much for joining us here on 13 News Now Plus for a little bit of a sneak peek into the weekend outlook as we head into Saturday and Sunday. We've got weather impact alerts signaled for both days. With the possibility of strong to severe thunderstorms. Even out there this evening on radar, we do have a few active cells well to our west and one that's actually clipping our far western part of Sussex County, which triggered a severe thunderstorm warning to be scrolling on the bottom of your screen if you're watching on the TV side and just came off of our broadcast. Here's a look of it on radar. We've had these two cells that if we go back in time here, go back, let's say 3 hours, and you can see these emerged out of the Charlottesville area, and they've been diving pretty much to the southeast. And at one time, this pair of cells were both warned. But the dominance has been taken over by the cell that's farther to the south and west, and that's begun to rob energy from the other cell. And we can see this one is just maintaining severe criteria, which is gusty winds, has had a history of producing some hail. In fact, we still have a small hail signature out near Blackstone, well to the west of I-85. Radar indicates that some of these hail sizes could be up to grape size if they do make it to the ground in that size. So just keep that in mind if you are headed out in that direction, or if you're joining us from out there this evening, that things are a little bit volatile with this ongoing severe thunderstorm warning. Also, something to really watch here is that, especially earlier, if we back this up a little bit, this has definitely had some signals of spinning. You can see like there's a little couplet that's been trying to tighten up here within the cell. Although it's been interesting to see that in these warnings that the Weather Service has been putting out, they haven't been putting any tags in it saying that tornado would be a possibility. Otherwise, a severe thunderstorm warning continues to be in effect here for these areas for another 45 minutes until 7:30 this evening. You look at the current imagery on this, that rotation is a little broader now. It's a little more stretched out broad, but as it moves towards Alberta and approaches the I-85 corridor, there could certainly be some gusty winds, some small hail, and of course, with the high humidity we've been experiencing out there today, extremely high rainfall rates, 1 to 2.5 inches per hour. Going to be a good possibility there. But aside from this cluster of thunderstorms, now southwest of Richmond, we're not seeing a whole lot of anything else, and I don't expect much of anything else this evening. So if you're out and about, headed to Harborfest, doing anything outdoors today, you're okay. However, it changes a bit as we head into the upcoming weekend. Let me give you a broad view of the weekend outlook, and then we'll walk through it on the latest run of Futurecast. So it is going to be a hot and humid weekend, especially tomorrow. Areas could make a run at 90 degrees, and with the high humidity, it could be feeling like 92 to 95 degrees at times before we get cooled down by a few storms that are developing. We've got weather impact alerts for Saturday afternoon and evening, again, Sunday afternoon and evening. However, I do expect there to also be a round of storms, likely non-severe, though. Could be a few stronger ones Sunday morning. Around sunrise, we see a period of quiet weather. The atmosphere gets a chance to re-energize. And storms that develop in the afternoon will take advantage of that newly generated energy from the atmosphere and have another run of some strong to severe thunderstorms. So we've got the heat, we've got the humidity, we've got the ingredients in place. What do we need? A trigger, which is going to be a cold front dropping in from the north and west. Not a particularly strong front because we're not cooling off really at all. Humidity remains in place all week ahead and temperatures in the mid-80s. So there's not really a big drop in temperatures or any relief from the humidity coming our way, but it will be enough to lift the atmosphere, take advantage of that high moisture content, the energy available, and likely produce some strong to severe storms that could be quite widespread. So let's go over to Futurecast and just walk you through the next 48 hours or so. We'll start things off this evening. Not a lot going on out there because there's not. One thing to take note of, though, this model struggling a little bit with the ongoing thunderstorm activity to the west. Notice doesn't show up here. Has a couple showers here southwest of Petersburg. That's nothing like what we're seeing on radar imagery currently. Remember, there's a cluster of severe thunderstorms out there. Not showing it here on the forecast models. But everything does diminish that it does have out there over the next few hours, and that's what we're expecting here. Once the sun goes down, all the activity will really fall apart. Now, overnight tonight, most of us are quiet. Take note of what develops off to the north near Richmond and scoots through. There could be another cluster of downpours, maybe a few rumbles of thunder that scoot on through our northern cities and counties overnight tonight. So if you live up along the peninsulas, the eastern shore, and you wake up tonight with a rumble of thunder and flash of lightning, that's what's going on there. But all of it should be gone by sunup on Saturday. Look how fast we warm up. By midday, there could be a few showers again scooting by to our north, but areas that evade that to the south, south side, northeastern North Carolina, noontime, it's already 90 out of Elizabeth City. Humid, too. 87 out at Norfolk, upper 70s out at the beach, thanks to the influence of the slightly cooler waters. The water temperatures are actually in the mid-70s already out there, so not all that much cooler. And then we cook things up, right? The daytime heating really getting underway. Think of this like we're turning on the burner on a stove. And the pot of water is our atmosphere. That burner's on for a few hours, and then eventually, as long as we get a trigger, which is our cold front, we start to boil. And look what happens here by 4 o'clock. The atmosphere erupts with thunderstorms. Now, this is going to be along a boundary, which at this point in time, let me draw it in here so you can see where this is. It's going to be right around here. You can see the confluence of the winds. Now, will it definitely set up there? It could set up a little bit farther to the north here. It could be across south side, which would displace this cluster of thunderstorms farther to the north and be over more of south side. So this is going to be something we have to watch as that line develops tomorrow afternoon and where exactly it sets up. Stalling boundaries are notoriously one of the hardest things to pinpoint. Where exactly they stall out, it could be right over our area, it could be farther to the south, it could be completely clear to our south and east with that boundary setting up more out of our area. But wherever that boundary sets up will be the focal point for storms to generate in the mid-afternoon, lasting on into the evening hours. So here's where the models show it at in the northeastern North Carolina. So go to the Outer Banks, or you're in the Outer Banks right now, got beach plans tomorrow. Keep an eye out as we hit mid-afternoon. You'll start to see the clouds bubble on up, and thunderstorms are likely not too far behind with the arrival of that boundary being that trigger for the atmosphere to ignite the generation of thunderstorms. Now, look what happens after the sun goes down. We lose all of the energy. Turning off the burner on the stove, the pot's no longer going to boil. It'll still remain hot and boil for a little while. So here we are at 9 o'clock past sunset. We still have a few isolated downpours out there, but we're simmering. Things are falling apart and diminishing. Through the overnight hours, again, we're going to remain quiet until we get to Sunday, just after sunrise. Sunrise now is 5:45, so we're almost 2 hours after sunrise at this point. So early morning downpours, maybe a few thunderstorms. That could be on the stronger side. I'm not going to completely rule it out. But any storms that develop that previous evening will likely rob a lot of the energy from any storms for the morning hours. But we could have some downpours out here by Sunday morning. We get a period of time from late morning and early afternoon. This is crucial here for our Sunday threat. The cloud deck thins out. Even though if we get those storms in the morning, that's going to help to work over the atmosphere. If those happen, they could not. If they don't, we're going to set ourselves up for probably a more widespread severe threat on Sunday. But going off of this model here, we get a period of time of some clearing skies. That's going to enable the atmosphere to re-energize or build back some of the energy taken away from the thunderstorms the previous day. And you'll see here, watch as we go through mid-afternoon, we start to see more storms bubble on up, and this time around lasting through the first half of the overnight as we see some residual energy and a residual boundary set up that's going to keep the lift around for these storms to take advantage of here. And then finally, by Monday morning, things will quiet down just a little bit before we see more rounds of storms through much of next week as our overall pattern does transition to that. That's going to be a little bit more unsettled. Not a washout any day this upcoming week. It's really going to be an overall summer pattern. Mid-80s, high humidity, afternoon storms each day. Like we're in a tropical environment, pretty much. So Storm Prediction Center has issued their outlooks for the possibility of severe weather. Remember, it goes from level 1, tier 1, to tier 5. Tier 5 being the greatest threat for widespread severe weather. Level 1, tier 1 being the lowest. We're at level 2 tomorrow, and we're also at a level 2 for Sunday. But I do want to go a little bit deeper into this and show you the different threat hazards that are going to be coming our way. Let me go over here to the day 1 outlook. So, well, the day 2. This is tomorrow's outlook from the Storm Prediction Center that I just showed you, level 2. For the majority of the area, the exception going to be far northern Northampton County and Accomack County. You're in the level 1 out of 5 for tomorrow. But the various threats, let's go with tornado first. So you see the area in yellow, south side through northeastern North Carolina, does have a small tornado threat at 2%. You're looking at that saying, what's 2%? It's not 0, okay? And a lot of times, as we've seen before, the influences in northeastern North Carolina, the geography, the influence of the Albemarle Sound, the Currituck Sound, the ocean, tend to just add a little bit more spin when we have a boundary in play. So I wouldn't completely dismiss that tornado threat. We'll keep an eye on that, but I wouldn't say it's the highest priority threat, but it's certainly something to keep an eye on. How about the potential of damaging wind gusts? That's a little bit higher for more of the area. The entire area looking at a 15% chance. So think of it as a level 2 tier. Threat for winds to exceed 55 to 60 miles per hour in the strongest cells. And then the hail threat is also there, but it's also through south side and northeastern North Carolina. This would be for the potential of hail of quarter-sized or larger in some of these cells. And that risk is 5%, so still relatively low. Something I do want to talk about, though, is going to be the possibility of seeing some extremely heavy rainfall as well. What I'll show you here is the rainfall outlook. This is from our in-house graph model, which is the model I just showed you, putting out 1 to 2 inches in some spots. I'm going to tell you, by looking at this and looking at the humidity that's out there, we could double these rainfall totals if we get that boundary to stay stationary for a little longer than what models are indicating. That would mean training thunderstorms with high rainfall rates over the same area for a prolonged period of time. We've been rather wet lately. Ground is still pretty saturated. So you get those tropical downpours, 1-2 inch per hour rainfall rates over the same area for hours. You're going to quickly overwhelm drainage basins. You're going to quickly start to see water on roadways, street flooding, and that sort of deal. So that's going to be also another pretty big concern, and which is why it's ranked as a level 1 priority threat here, right up there with damaging wind gusts. Street flooding is not too far behind because I do expect some heavy downpours to cause some of those issues. Hail would be next up on the list, could have some quarter-sized hail in some spots. And then you see the tornado threat both tomorrow and again on Sunday. Not zero, but also not exceptionally high for our area there. So let's go back over to radar and check out what's going on here in terms of those cells that were off to our west this evening. We still have the ongoing severe thunderstorm warning that's now approaching I-85. We're just north of Lawrenceville, over Blackstone right now. And the latest word here from the Weather Service is this one is up until 7:30, 34 more minutes, and it's moving southeast at 35. All these hazards, which would be 60-mile-per-hour winds and nickel-sized hail, has not been confirmed on the ground. This is all radar indicated. And we look over at our hail tracker here, and we do have a hail core that's being picked up just to the northwest of I-85, just to the northwest of Alberta. Radar here indicates that this size could be walnut-sized hail. In the purple here, we could have grape-sized hail and then pea-sized hail on the outskirts of that. Just north of Alberta, Danieltown here. Again, outside of our immediate viewing area, but it is just northwest of I-85. And of course, we don't get into the 13 News Now viewing area until you're east of I-95. So this cluster of storms here, and if we play it out last 2 hours, you can see that they were generally very strong as they moved through Farmville, severe. And then the first cell off to the northwest there, or northeast there near Petersburg, that cell was warned. That has dissipated significantly. We've got one lone severe cell that's actually robbed the energy from the other cell and is using it to sustain itself for a little while longer. So it may hold together by the time it gets to Emporia. It is clipping. You see the far western little corner here of Sussex County is tagged in that warning there, but likely going to see the brunt of that cell slide to the outside of Sussex and head towards Greensville County and Emporia here along I-95 within the next hour or so. In fact, let's put a storm track on it. It's moving southeast at 35. So here we go. We'll put this on here, moving off towards Emporia. If it was to hold together, make it to Emporia, we're looking at 7:35 tonight. Druryville just ahead at 8 o'clock, and then Boykins at 8:08 tonight if it holds together there. But odds are this does dissipate. This whole line dissipates and falls apart as it crosses I-95 going forward. So that's what we're going to be watching here over the next couple of hours. So let's look at temperatures currently, because it's still very, very humid outside. And temperatures are in the upper 70s and low 80s. But look at dew points. 72 dew point in Newport News. Williamsburg, we got to check that sensor there. At 78-degree dew point, I don't think that's right. But look at Edenton, 76-degree dew point. So air is very, very juiced up, if you will. High humidity values, and of course that's going to be a key player in tomorrow's severe weather threat, because it's not going anywhere until we can kind of wring that moisture out in regard to severe thunderstorms. That'll use that for energy. Air temperatures right now, we've come down from our highs that in inland spots were in the mid to upper 80s. After we had that morning cloud cover, a few spots had some showers with that area of low pressure that quickly exited. It moved out a little ahead of schedule, which is great. We salvaged a good chunk of the day today, which is great news for Harbor Fest as it got underway with a parade of sail around lunchtime today. Still at 79 at Virginia Beach, 83 out at Suffolk, and 85 still this hour down at Edenton. So great evening out there. Let's see if we got any heat indices out there. It feels a little bit warmer. It feels like 94 currently down at Edenton with an air temperature of 85, but you saw those dew points were a little bit skewed. Same up in Williamsburg. It feels like 90 there right now, but that's likely also a little bit skewed. So that's pretty much about it, folks. So we'll wrap things up here. I just wanted to give you a heads up for planning purposes for this upcoming weekend. I know there's a lot of outdoor events going on. Of course, the big one in Norfolk at Town Point Park is Harbor Fest going on through Sunday. A lot of folks out there, of course, that's an outdoor festival, so may be impacted by some of these severe thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and then again on Sunday afternoon, both of which are weather impact alerts. We are going to have team coverage all weekend long. Taylor Stephenson in here tomorrow morning for daybreak on Saturday and Sunday. Craig Moeller will be out at Town Point Park on Saturday morning for live shots there. And then in the evening, you'll have Hunter Force tracking any storms as well as Craig Moeller. And then Evan Stewart comes in with Hunter on Sunday evening for any severe storms after Taylor Stephenson is back in Sunday morning. So team coverage, we got you covered on 13 News Now Plus, of course, on the TV side as well. So we wish you a great weekend and stay weather aware ahead of any severe weather that does develop as we go through Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy your Friday.